Keep it going. I would like to welcome everyone here today to the 2016 Stevens Hope for Children. There is Hope Luncheon. Applause here. Oh. All right. My name is Jason Scrignoli, and I am proud to be the chairman of the board of directors for Stevens Hope. I will be your MC today, and it's wonderful to see a room full of people gathered together to support such a wonderful charity. Before we get started, allow me to introduce, I'll tell you why I'm stuttering later, Jeff Goki for the blessing of the event and our meal.
All right, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we love you. We thank you so much. Thank you that we get to come here together as a group of people who care desperately about those who are hurting and those who are in pain and looking for help, and that we get to come together. We get to learn about what you're doing in this world, and we get to figure out how to join you in what you're already doing and how you're caring for those who are going through really difficult things, that you're there in their presence. And so we love that. We love that we get to join you in that. Thank you for Stevens Hope and how you continue to use this incredible nonprofit ministry to go after and care for these families and these individuals who are hurting. And I pray that each and every one of us would continue to do that in our own lives with the people that we encounter. But we thank you for this food. You give it to us. We know there's lots of people around the world that don't have what we have in this room, and so we're grateful, and we say thank you. And all God's people said,
Thank you, Jeff. That was fantastic as usual. So if you've been to this luncheon before, you know that we cover a lot in an extremely short amount of time. That being said, let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I was born in a small suburb just north of the city of Chicago, where I spent the first 2/3 of my childhood. So as you all probably know by now, I've had no sleep, and I'm up here stuttering through it. I stared at the ceiling until my wife woke up this morning and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I cannot sleep. My heart is pounding through my chest." You've come here today to hear about Stevens Hope for Children and the Cubs. And this organization is supported by donors and volunteers that want to make a difference in the lives of families with seriously ill children and injured children. Hopefully, you will hear something that will spark something in you to volunteer or make a contribution, or both, for the benefit of those that don't want to miss a thing. Please so do me a favor, grab your cell phones, take a picture. Hey, this glass thing doesn't magnify my midsection, does it? Go ahead and get on your FaceLink Twitter book account and let people know you're here for such a wonderful, wonderful cause. And then when you're done, put them away, turn them off, or at least turn the ringer off if you need it to tell you if there's a phone call. Please take the next few moments to silence your smartphones, dumb phones. Mine's a dumb phone. Pads, droids, any other electronic devices, and yes, that includes your little watch, your Apple Watch. So this is the 9th annual There is Hope Luncheon. As you look around the room, you'll see the core values on the boards around the room, as well as the vision and mission that define the organization. If you haven't had a chance to look around the room, please do so to gain a better understanding of the culture of this organization. It's that culture that is helping Stevens Hope to grow its reach to extend to support families from the Inland Empire, throughout California, across the country, and as well around the world, and there is still more to come. We are extremely fortunate that some of the families are joining us today that Stevens Hope has had the privilege to support. And if you could please, as I announce your name, could I have the families please stand up? The Vahanian family, Gregory, Wendy, and Isabella from Los Angeles. And they have been supported with the Way Project as well as now the Raising Hope Project. The Wilson family, Whitney and her family, have been getting support here from the We Care program. Could you please stand, if I can find you? Isabel Miller is here for her son, Darius, also on the We Care program. And the Ivy family from Yucca Valley. And you'll be hearing their story a little later in the luncheon. We absolutely do what we do for you. And we already gave them all a nice, wonderful hand. Let's do it one more time for everybody. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce our co-founder and vice president of Stevens Hope for Children, Sandy Capelli. Oh.
Good afternoon, everybody. I just want to say thank you for all of you being with us today. We so appreciate your time and your presence. I am Sandy Capelli, co-founder of Stevens Hope for Children and Stevens' mom. For those of you who don't know me or our story, we started Stevens Hope in 2002 after the death of our son, Stephen, due to heart complications. In an instant, our lives were changed back then. They were changed forever, but not just for a season, but our entire lives. And that's because we were forced deeper to find meaning in everything we did, purpose. So in 2002, we did start Stevens Hope for Children and have been helping families with seriously ill children ever since. This hour, you're going to hear more about how we impact these families, but what I am here to say is a heartfelt thank you, because the we that I just referred to is so many of you. Stevens Hope would not be here without so many of you believing in our mission and wanting to help these families in need. We can't possibly mention all of you who have impacted Stevens Hope for Children last year, but I would like to give recognition to a few. First, I would like to thank our Circle of Hope members that are listed on the screen, I think. And I would also like you to stand. Please stand. Because you are a group of people that have committed to Stevens Hope for several years. And I want to thank you for believing what we do. Up on the screen, there's also some corporate sponsors that provide support to further the mission of Stevens Hope. And there's dozens of people and companies, too numerous to mention, that we just want to thank for your financial support, whether it's through event sponsorships, participating in events, other types of sponsorships, donations, or or donating in some other capacity. And now I'd like to thank our volunteers. Last year, we helped over 3,000 volunteers, and I think you know that it takes way more than just financial support to help us get through all of those, the events that we have, just the office support. So I would like to mention a few of these behind the scenes. I'd actually like to mention our leadership team first. Can I have all of the board of directors and associate board members please stand? Thank you. And stay standing for a moment while I ask all of our volunteers, whoever you are, if you have ever volunteered with us in any capacity, whether it's in events or at the office or in some other capacity, please stand. Thank you. Because without the support, we really would not be where we're at today. And speaking of volunteers, every year we give recognition to one volunteer who has gone above and beyond all expectations. This volunteer of the year has been a part of the Stevens Hope family for over 8 years. Her financial support has always made incredible impact, but it's her humble approach of serving in whatever capacity is needed is why we chose her for this award. She volunteers at almost every event, taking leadership roles in meeting whatever challenge surprises us in the middle of these events. She does so much for Stevens Hope, seeking nothing in return. And recognition is the last thing she wants right now. In fact, lock the doors, because she may bolt when I say this next sentence and she figures out who she is. In recent years, she's become an integral part of our Winter Wonderland project, allowing us to use her business location for coordinating toy drop-offs, deliveries to hospitals, and managing volunteer wrapping efforts. Yep, she is smack in the middle of all of that winter wonder madness in the holiday season. And last year, we distributed over $100,000 worth of toys and gifts to 8 hospitals, so that is not for the faint-hearted. And so with my deepest gratitude, I am proud to announce our 2016 Volunteer of the Year, Janet Parks. And I won't embarrass you, but she is back there in the tech crew, the blonde hair back there. And I just want to thank you so much, Janet, for everything that you do. And now I have the privilege of inviting my daughter up to sing a special song. Alexa Capelli.
When I am down and oh my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burden be, when I am still to wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. to more than I can be.
Absolutely beautiful as usual. Thank you, Alexa. We're going to go ahead and take a little bit of break here, about 7-8 minutes. So please continue to enjoy your meals, and we'll come back to you. I hope you're all enjoying your meal. I'm going to go ahead and take this time to introduce our president and co-founder, Tony Capelli.
Good afternoon. For those of you who don't know, my name is Tony Capelli, and I have the privilege of being one of the co-founders of Stevens Hope, and I currently serve as president and executive director. Every year, Sandy and I get to trade off the main speech duties, and this year was my turn. It's a lot of fun to stand up here and tell about the great achievements we've had or some new milestone that we've reached. So I was at my desk looking to uncover some kind of a gem to come up here and dazzle everybody with. And in comparison to other years, started to realize that there wasn't a whole lot to compare it to. I mean, we're not giving away any cars this year. We didn't send hundreds of family members to Disneyland. Didn't open up any new apartments. Because those are the things we did last year. And I was looking at it, and the reality of it is that early in the year, we knew it was going to be a tough year. And I remember one of our core values, our first one, which is faith makes all things possible. And we'd need a lot of faith because it was going to be a tough year. And looking back, there were no shiny, glimmering moments, per se. And it would be really easy to say that it was what it was because funding was down and those shiny things weren't available for families. And kind of felt a little bit disappointed. Now, on occasion, I'll go out and interview families staying in our apartments. It gets me out of the office and lets me play video guy. So I went to talk to one family that had just checked into one of our apartments from the low desert. Their child had just had a heart transplant. And so we scheduled it, and I brought a volunteer with me to see the apartment firsthand and help with the interview process. Now, I've done dozens and dozens of these interviews, and I can honestly tell you, some are really good, and some are not so much. But this one got special. 2 minutes in, I knew I was hearing something that I was supposed to hear. Stevens Hope was working. It was hitting on all cylinders and going at full speed. Now, it made me realize that sometimes we fall into the trap of being blinded by shiny lights, and that's not where we're supposed to be. Being steady and consistent in serving others is often unappreciated, but it's one of the keys to the successes of a nonprofit like ours. You see, behind the scenes, we had staff and volunteers painstakingly clean that apartment, stock it with linen and food and games. They prepared it for being a home for a family that was facing extremely turbulent times in their life. They had done the extra, not for the glitz and glory, but because they care. They wanted to help someone in need. Again, one of our core values. So the interview continued, and the parents of the child explained how much they appreciated the little things that were done to make that apartment their home because they were home. It was their home now. I came back to the house and showed Sandy the raw footage, and she was blown away. We had both overlooked the basics of what Stevens Hope does day in and day out that it provides to these families. While it may be old and mundane to us, it's an overwhelming gift of love to them. Realizing that can really change your perspective. And you'll understand what I'm talking about when you see the video in a minute. So let's talk 2016. Funding was down a lot. So it was do more with less syndrome, and do more with less is, again, one of our core values. But after looking at what we did, it was a good year. You know, our clothing kids distribution that we provide kids and hospitals clothing is up 15% over the last year, and we still have 2 more months to go. And last year, we took in about 200 of our little love boxes, those little gifts of love we give to social workers. They can give it to a family while they're getting treatment in those hour-long appointments at the hospital. This year, we've already taken in over 500, and there are more coming. It's led us to expand that program from 2 hospitals to 6, and that's a huge step. Sandy mentioned that last year, our Winter Wonderland project gave away over $100,000 of toys and games to kids over 7 or 8 hospitals. And our Housing for Hope program, that's a whole nother story. We're still looking at an opportunity to purchase a piece of property to call our own, but that hasn't stopped the families from coming to stay with us. This year, we're at a 94% occupancy rate, and we've had more nights of housing families this year than we've ever had in any year, and we still have all 4 apartments full and 2 more months to go. It's really been amazing how much our programs are really sinking in. So what made it all possible? I believe there are a lot of key contributions of time, talent, and resources that made everything work. You see, for many families, the key to hope is Stephen's Hope. The key to Stephen's Hope is each one of you. When there was a key contribution that needed to be made, somebody stepped up and donated. When a door needed to be opened so Stephen's Hope could walk through an opportunity, somebody unlocked the door. Today, we begin preparing for 2017. And before you think that everything is fine and we don't need your involvement and your support's not necessary, let me tell you right now, it's not all fine, and you are needed as much or more than ever. We've had consistent increases every year, year over year, from social worker requests of housing, food, clothing, and other support. Next year, we expect the same type of increase in requests. Stephen's Hope needs to invest in itself in its ability to do business, to make sure that we can grow with the increased demands. Equipment, specifically computers and our phone systems, are aged. Our IT guys say that having vintage clothing in a children's boutique is kind of neat, but for your operating system of PC, it really doesn't work too well. So we're focusing in 2 areas now. One is our capacity to be able to meet those rising demands of all the requests we're getting. And the second is for building hope, our drive to get our own apartments and fulfill our vision and mission of getting 10 units under our control by 2020. Now, on your table is a key to hope for each one of you. You see, you are the key to Stephen's Hope. Without you, Stephen's Hope can't help families. There's nothing else that can explain it beyond that. And I can tell you that a key in a pocket doesn't work. A key without action or energy and a bit of commitment, it won't start a car, it won't open a door, and it won't provide hope. So now the question comes up. You've got your key there. How does your key work? What will it start? What door does it open? Those are really good questions. But you have the key, and in your heart, you know the answer. And so I'll remind you, as you're thinking of that answer, our final core value: make ripples. Thank you very much.
We're from Yaku Valley, California, and we ended up being transferred here from Palm Springs. They were watching her closely in the womb, and they found out that she was going to be born with a heart condition. So they sent us here to Loma Linda so she could continue her treatment.
After she was born, she went through a number of procedures, certain surgeries to correct the issue that she had with her heart. And there was hopes that through the completion of that procedure, she would grow and have a normal heart and a normal life once again. And it wasn't until August of 2015 that we started noticing some symptoms and some signs that we weren't sure of what it was, but it concerned us very much. So we ended up having to bring her back down here to Loma Linda, where they diagnosed it as the beginning stages of heart failure. And it wasn't bad enough to admit her into the hospital, but it was high enough concern for her to be put on the transplant list. And it was just a waiting game after that. There was no time reference for when the heart could come. There was no anything except keep hanging on and keep letting her live as much of a normal life as possible. And that's what we did up until August 4th. You know, we had our own plan. We had our own desires. We had everything we wanted all planned out, you know, as far as work goes and moving into a new apartment and setting up our living conditions and how we were going to plan for the next school year. And I planned a business trip for a week long. And it was right when I hung up the phone of getting ready to book this hotel that I see Carla's face saying, "We have to go." And I said, "What?" And she said, "We have to go now. The heart came in." And that was August 4th. And that was just like that. We realized how really frail our own plans were, and that there was a different idea for us and the things that needed to happen and how they were going to happen. And we just had to really give our lives over to helping Bree. We set everything aside and we moved here, and we've been here since. It was like being handed this detailed instruction booklet, you know, and we're sitting at home not really having an idea of what it's going to look like as it goes together. And all these pieces fall into place. And it wasn't until we actually got the call and came that we started to see what that instruction manual was all about. That each piece was adding up to something. And we had so many different hands putting together the pieces of Breonna's life to get us where we're sitting now with Stephen's hope. And we really had no idea the commitment, the financial responsibility that was going to happen. We had to leave our lives in Yucca Valley, our apartment, our car payments, our insurance. We had to leave all of that, which is still very real and still there today, and start a whole new life here. Not with a bunch of planning, but a phone call and an instant that changed from August 4th to August 5th with her coming out on the gurney with the heart transplant completed. And they said, "Okay, this is what we do now." At first, everybody was so busy, we just landed in a hotel. And we would commute back and forth from the hotel and stay there and not really have time to think about what was happening. It was just all we knew is we had to be somewhere at a certain time, and that's what we did. Prior to this, we had been living in a single hotel room with one king bed and 2 cots. So with no kitchen, no anything. No sink, which was so necessary because of the cleanliness that had to be provided for Breonna in the new condition. They shut down her immune system. So we're living in this little single room with a single bed and no way to cook and prepare and provide. And we did that for nearly 2 weeks. And it wasn't until we started, okay, Stephen's Hope's coming up. It's coming up. It's coming up. And we didn't know where it was. We didn't know what to expect, just that it was an apartment, that it was fully furnished. And sure enough, we got here and we walked in the door and we were so excited. It was the feeling of walking into a new home. Like when we just moved to our new apartment in Yucca Valley, it was that refreshing, we can finally settle down. We have a place where we can store our things and we can just sit and breathe for a minute. If Breonna needs to sit in the room by herself, she can have it. If Carla needs to lay down and take a nap in quiet, she can. And it was a huge blessing to be able to have that. It was a relief.
I was thinking, okay, what exactly is fully furnished? when we got here, I noticed that the farther I walked into the apartment, I started noticing, oh, there's sheets, there's towels, there's everything. There's food in the pantry, there's hand soap on all the sinks, there's a patio with a chair and a table on it in the shade. I'm like wondering, is there anything there's not? Do I need to go to the store? No, I don't need to go to the store.
And it was so neat for us when we walked into this place, you not knowing what to expect, and walking in and just, I remember our faces lit up as we got in, and there was certain things already hanging on the walls, and it may sound silly, but there was a shower curtain and these little soap holders that were owls that we would actually have in our house. And we just looked at each other and laughed, you know, and we stood right there in the hallway and gave each other a hug because it was like walking home, and it made us feel comfortable again, and it made us smile, and it was a brief glimpse of something that we've been missing for some time, and that it just kept getting better. Yeah, I was thinking about it last night as I was laying in bed. I was actually thinking, and two words kept coming to my mind, and it was hope and peace. And it was just a saying for me as things start to get overwhelming. Hope for the moment and peace in the circumstances. And that's what we've been provided. We have that. We have that here at Stevens Hope.
Poopy. It's a little poopy.
We know that if she does get sick, we're 7 minutes from the hospital. We know that if she goes into rejection, we can leave our things, lock the door, and go. And then if it winds down, we have a place to come back to. After the doctor's trips, the clinic visits, and she has to wake up super early in the morning for a blood draw, which she hates, and she screams and cries, we have a place where we can lay her right back down in her bed, and she can fall asleep again until we have to go back for the results. For the days when we have to go in for a biopsy, and she has to get a catheter through her neck or through her leg, she has to lay in the hospital bed again, she has a place to come back to rest and to relax, where we can cook her a meal, where we can watch a movie, where she can watch Talking Tom on the computer that's been provided. Everything's provided. We have a phone line in case we need to make a phone call. We have our own parking spot. It's hope for the moment and peace in the circumstances. That's what's been provided.
Is Max Ivy, and at table 14, there's our family. Little girl, wave your hand, Bree. There she is. Our new daughter Hattie's over there too. She's like 2.5 months old. It's crazy. So, like I said on the video, I was talking about hope for the moment and peace in the circumstances. And I want you guys to grasp just how important that is for our family in these circumstances and the things that are going on. It's real. And I want you to know that we didn't have that until we walked into the apartment at Stevens Hope. When we walked in, we felt that sense. And we've had it ever since. We're still staying there. As I said on the video, our lives, they were uprooted from Yucca Valley. We live over an hour away from here, straight uprooted, and just literally plopped down in the midst of doctors, nurses, beeping noises, blinking lights, people asking tons of questions constantly. And all of this is surrounded by the most important part of it, Brianna, a 6-year-old little girl who just went through heart transplant surgery. 18 days later, a newborn baby. I got to tell you, while we were living in that hotel, I kind of picked up some of the slang. And literally in my life, I was ready to check out. That's how I felt. I felt like a crazy person walking around in the dark, bumping my head on everything possible. I didn't know what to do. And this was from one phone call. You understand? One phone call. We knew it was coming, but we weren't prepared for it. And we weren't prepared for the next phone call either. This time, the next phone call, it was lined with hope. It was lined with Stephen's hope. We were provided with an address we drove to. The door was already open and someone's waiting there to greet us. We walked in and we were handed the key to that door. It's like we could breathe again. The thoughts that went through our head was, this is ours? This is our place to rest? To find peace? It's Stephen's hope. This was our new door to carry our new heartbeat through. And that's why we're here to say thank you. Seriously, thank you for what you've done, Stephen's Hope, Tony, all of the supporters. We mean that. Everything has been provided for us. It has cost us nothing so far. And I want you to know that it's not a handout, but really it's a hand up to a family in need that's unable to do it for themselves right now. Can't do it. But you guys have made it possible. Thank you for what you've done behind the scene of our life to become the key to our door. Because without you guys, our door wouldn't have remained open. Without you guys, we would have failed. Thank you for supporting our team. Now, I want you to know that regardless of what kind of thoughts you have after this, maybe the thoughts that you walked in here with, another luncheon, another year. Maybe some of you have dealt with discouragement. Is this really helping? Am I really doing anything? Does this really matter? I want you to know that it does. It matters to that little girl sitting at table 14. It matters to my wife. And it matters to me. You're the people behind it, and today we get to see your faces. I want you to know that every breath that Breonna takes is going to be forever laced with Stephen's hope and the people that were real, that made it possible. This is your portion. This is your lot in life. It was our lot to walk through the door of heart transplant. It's yours to continue to support, because I'm telling you, there's going to be another family that comes along. Maybe different circumstances, but they'll need the same help. And you have that opportunity today to help plan for their tomorrow. So we do want to say thank you. Thank you for choosing to become part of our life. And we hope that you'll be able to continue to see the fruit of your efforts in us. Thank you for being our key. And thank you for making up Stephen's hope and giving us our hope back. And so now it's my privilege to introduce to you the doctor who has been with us through every step of this. His name is Dr. Matthew Bach, and the job that he does is fantastic, and I hope you'll listen to him.
Hello, everyone. As Max said, my name is Matthew Bach, and I'm one of the new pediatric cardiologists and heart transplant doctors at Loma Linda. I've only been part of the transplant team at Loma Linda for the past year or so, but I've been part of the Loma Linda family for over 8 years now, having done my pediatric residency at Loma Linda. And Stephen's Hope was there for me and all of my patients throughout this whole time. Today, our theme is the key. And the key can mean so many things to so many people. The key can mean the key to the apartment at Stephen's Hope, but it can mean so much more. When I think of the key in my life, I think of the many key life experiences and many key people present during those memorable and life-defining times throughout our lives. For me, the key may have been my parents, who supported me through years and years of schooling and training, or it may have been the first parent that I had to give the devastating news that their child may not survive. But for the families we care for daily, the key moments are far different. I'm sure every family touched by Stephen's Hope remembers the first time they heard the diagnosis that would come to define them for better or for worse. They all remember their first admission to Loma Linda Children's Hospital, or whichever hospital they were initially diagnosed. They remember the feelings of helplessness, uncertainty, and general ignorance, for lack of a better word, about everything that was going on. And for some, the struggles continue with recurrent admissions for chemotherapy, surgeries, and other complications of their therapies. Each of these key moments will help define these children and families for the rest of their lives. And for each feeling of helplessness and hopelessness, there are literally hundreds and maybe thousands of people who are trying to restore balance to these out-of-balance lives. These are the keys that we are looking for. Now, many of our families do not have the luxury of living close to Loma Linda, or even to provide the basic needs for their families in these difficult times. For these families, having an organization like Stephen's Hope is a life-changing gift. And the reality is that every one of you and those you tell about Stephen's Hope are the key to the gift of hope for the future. And Brianna. I first had the pleasure of meeting Brianna and her family last October. And as Max said, I remember having a meeting with them and several members of their family one morning when describing all the possible complications of transplant, which are many, and we informed them that they'd have to stay close to the hospital for an extended period of time after Brianna received her heart. The family lives over an hour away, and maintaining 2 residences would not be possible for them during this time. But I'm happy to say, as you've heard, that Brianna has received her new heart and has been doing very well since that time. And as with many of our transplant families, Stephen's Hope has stepped in to help. And as much as I'm sure that Brianna and Carla and Max are ready to return home, I'm positive their experience at Stephen's Hope has made this key moment a positive one, as it should be. Thank you very much for letting me enjoy this wonderful experience with you.
All right then, hello, my name is Glenn Rowan, and I met Tony and Sandy through my wife, where we had the twins over at Susie's daycare at home. That was 17 years ago. Now they're both driving. If you didn't catch that warning, it means watch yourself in the parking lot when you're leaving today. So it doesn't seem that long ago that my family watched what the Capellis were going through and trying to make sense of Stephen's short life. When they started Stephen's Hope for Children, I was honored to be asked to be on the board of directors, and I'm still on the leadership team today, and I'm humbled by it. Thanks. That involvement has allowed me to see firsthand the impact the programs and the volunteers and the supporters have had on the lives of amazing families navigating some of the darkest days, months, and years that are ahead of them. Being part of Stephen's Hope has been a real blessing. As you know, there are a few families that are here today that have been helped by Stephen's Hope. Here's a quick little update. Isabella is receiving numerous therapies in Los Angeles for Down syndrome and continues to get better. Jordan Webster's family is here. Darius Miller's mom is here. And as you just heard, the incredible Ivy family story. Charity Rose, love that name, who is currently in one of our apartments while getting treatment at Loma Linda University Medical Center. After previously being told at another hospital that she could not be saved, she is now 5 months old and is improving, and obviously she is a fighter. Hearing all these stories and the challenges these families face and that they have to overcome puts my struggles in a different perspective. It changes you. When you came here today, most of you did not know exactly what we were going to ask for in terms of financial support. Now that you've heard about the past year, where Stephen's Hope is now, and the help we need in the future, it's my privilege to ask you to make a financial investment to ensure the ongoing success of our programs. We don't like to think about it, but there are parents who don't know yet about the diagnosis of their child and are presently unaware that they will need Stephen's Hope in the upcoming year. Today, let's come together as a group of just ordinary people trying to do extraordinary things. When we looked at what to ask you for today, we would like to request what we need most: financial support for our day-to-day operations. If you like what you heard today, Stevens Hope knows there's more to do in the lives of more families. To reach the goals for the next year and continue to build to the future, we are looking to reduce our financial shortfall of $70,000. Telling a family no, we can't help is the last thing we want to say. Your support today means there's more help, more relief, and for something that a family can get when they need it most. Your contribution today will go towards the unrestricted operating funds of Stevens Hope for Children. Now I'd like to ask the table captains to pass out the pledge cards. As you open the envelopes, I'd like to have everyone's attention. For those who are currently in the Circle of Hope, you have an existing pledge. There is a special section on the back of the pledge cards specifically designed for you. There you have several options regarding your existing pledge, including making your pledge payment, adding years to your pledge, increasing your annual financial commitment, or maybe adding a one-time gift, or even just paying off your pledge. If you have any questions, simply write it on the form and somebody from Stevens Hope for Children will contact you. Now let's go through this pledge sheets. To provide stability for the future, Stevens Hope for Children established the Circle of Hope Society. If you have been inspired by what you learned today, consider joining as a member of our society. You'll see people wearing a lapel pin, like the one that is hopefully on the screen now. They are already part of our Circle of Hope Society and share in our passion for the work being done through this organization. The Circle of Hope Society pledge level names are meant to give you a sense of what your contribution can do. The first level in the Circle of Hope is a pledge for $1,000 or more per year for 5 years. This is called the Light of Hope. With this pledge, you can provide light to families during their time of darkness. It's important to remember there are families attached to the other end of your financial contribution. Families who will benefit from grocery cards, gas cards, clothing kits, and more. A gift at this level, which is an average of just $83.33 each month, or $250 per quarter, would benefit families in need. Just mark your payment frequency at the bottom of this section. Now the next level in the Circle of Hope Society is our Spirit of Hope. If you make a gift of $10,000 or more each year for 5 years, you would allow us to fully house and support families in one of our units for 6 months. A family like the Ivy family, who moved into one of the apartments just recently. Some of you may be a part of a company or a foundation or in a position to give more. As an angel of hope, you would be a guardian angel to many families. A gift of $25,000 or more per year for 5 years is equivalent to fully funding one of our apartments in each year of your pledge, or our Fill a Need program, or our We Care program can be expanded to help keep more families together. If you are committed to be a new member of the Circle of Hope Society, I thank you very much for your generous support. We know that you may prefer to give at a different level at this time. On this line, please tell us how much you would like to give and for how many years. Again, here is where you would mark your payment schedule to fit your budget. The next section is for those who would like to make a one-time gift, or let us know if you have other ideas of donating property, stocks, or with planned giving. The payment section is where you let us know how you would like to make your payment today. Just mark the appropriate box and fill in the necessary information. Semi-annual, quarterly, monthly payments are all easy to handle if you have a credit card. Lastly, please fill out the information at the bottom of the first page. Please note all donation receipts will be sent out via email. So enter in a good email address. If you're like me, I have like 3 or 4 different emails and I can never remember which one to use. So you can put that in there, or a phone number is the best way to get your receipt. And I thank you for your heartfelt consideration of financially supporting Stephen's Hope for Children. And if I could get your attention for one moment, I would like to thank you for the gift that all of you have given us today, and that's the gift of your precious time to be here and hear this message. Thank you very much.
I'd like to reiterate, Glenn, thank you, Glenn. That was great. As far as thanking you for taking your precious time today, thank you all for joining us. We promised a 1 o'clock stop. I think we hit it on the button. And please take your time, hang out, chit-chat with others here. But I did promise to end right at 1, so thank you. Thank you all for joining us.